During a family vacation, our car was involved in a serious crash. Summoning all my strength, I managed to drag my mother, father, and brother out from beneath the vehicle. However, their sole focus was on getting my sister Lily, who had a fractured leg, to the nearest hospital. They left me stranded on the mountainous roadside, believing I was merely lucky with minor injuries. They overlooked the growing pallor of my face and my blue lips, as well as the oil leaking from the car. What exactly did you say? Lily passed away in the VIP section of the city's top hospital. Each family member displayed a different emotion. My biological mother sat beside Lily's bed, her eyes wide with disbelief, seemingly unable to accept the police officer's statements. "Are you serious?" Ethan, who had always harbored resentment towards me, had his eyes wide open too. For once, I noticed a flicker of panic in his gaze. Perhaps there was some sort of misunderstanding. When we descended the mountainside the day before, we clearly saw her uninjured. I hovered above, observing my stunned older brother with a sardonic, cold smile. I understood why they were so adamant at this moment. They had always trusted their own judgments above all else. 3 days prior, after Lily expressed envy over her classmates' family outings, my mother, who typically disliked the isolation of the mountains, proposed a camping trip and a picnic at a nearby peak. With father unavailable, the four of us set out in 2 vehicles. As we drove towards the mountainside and prepared to stop for a break, the car suddenly lost control and crashed into a rocky barrier. Mom and my brother Nathan, who were in the front seats, were knocked unconscious immediately. I only felt a sharp impact on my chest and back, but the pain swiftly subsided, leaving my mind exceptionally clear. I exited the car, surveying the now mangled vehicle and the shattered windshield. There was no time to think. My only concern was rescuing my trapped and injured family from the smoking, potentially exploding car. Fortunately, Mom and Nathan were cushioned by the airbags, suffering only minor injuries and unconsciousness. As I helped them out, Nathan regained consciousness. His first action was to grab my collar and urgently ask, "Where's Lily? Is she still in the car?" I glanced at Lily, whom I hadn't yet freed, and nodded. In the next instant, he shoved me aside forcefully, causing me to collapse onto the ground, my back striking a piece of debris sharply. I groaned in agony, a searing pain radiating from my back throughout my body, making me appear ghostly pale and unable to stand upright. The pain was so overwhelming that I could barely think of anything else. But Nathan shouted from the car door, "Why are you just standing there? Lily's leg is stuck between the seats. Come help!" Perhaps his loud voice roused Mom from her brief unconsciousness. Seeing me immobile, Nathan gave me a disgusted look before turning to alert Mom. "Mom, hurry! Lily's leg is caught in the seat gap. It might be broken. You both need to act fast." The two of them, just waking up, rushed to the car upon hearing Lily was injured, disregarding their own possible injuries. Together, they carefully lifted the pale, pain-stricken Lily out of the car and gently placed her on the ground. "Mom, Dad, I'm in so much pain." Lily's face, always delicate like a fragile, blooming flower, looked even more vulnerable. The 3 of them showed deep concern for her. No one paid attention to me, who had just rescued them and was now sitting on the ground, unable to stand straight from the pain. Something felt wrong. My limbs began to grow cold. I weakly reached out to them, calling out multiple times before they finally noticed. "Mom, call for an ambulance quickly! Hurry!" At my urging, they eventually took out their phones and dialed for help, but after the call, they only asked if I was okay as a formality. When I shook my head, they turned back to comfort Lily. A sense of bitterness pierced my heart. I hadn't expected any gratitude from them. It would have been better if they had inquired a few more times, but they didn't. Their attention remained solely on Lily from beginning to end. The ambulance arrived shortly, and they hurried Lily inside. It was only then they realized the issue. Lily's leg was likely broken, preventing her from sitting normally and requiring her to lie across the seats. This left no space for me in the ambulance. Mom gave me an embarrassed glance after quickly assessing that I wasn't seriously injured. "I'm sorry, Ava, but Lily is severely hurt. We have to take her to the hospital first. You understand, right?" But I lowered my eyes, feeling a sharp pain in my heart. I clenched my fists, wanting to loudly question why they were abandoning me once more. Then I heard Lily's voice from inside the ambulance. "Mom, it hurts. Lily, is she going to die?" "Mom, stop talking to her and get to the hospital quickly. Nathan, holding the constantly crying Lily, looked anxious and worried. "Ava, take a taxi to the hospital yourself." Hearing Lily's cries, there was no longer any trace of guilt on Mom's face. She slammed the ambulance door shut and urged the driver to speed to the hospital. The ambulance sped away like an arrow, soon disappearing from my view, just as it had years ago. "But I'm hurt too. I'm your daughter too. Why are you leaving me again?" My heart grew as cold as my hands and feet. They were entirely focused on getting Lily to the hospital and told me to take a taxi home. Did they even consider that we were in a remote area where getting a taxi was nearly impossible? I had to endure the pain and walk down the mountain step by step. Each step was agonizing, and I kept replaying everything that had happened. I didn't know how far I had walked, but I couldn't continue any longer. I leaned against a tree, and my consciousness began to fade. I heard a loud explosion from halfway up the mountain, and then I lost consciousness entirely, closing my eyes forever. I died from a ruptured spleen. To the naked eye, everything seemed fine. If they had called the police or an ambulance instead of using a private vehicle, perhaps I would still be alive. When the police bluntly announced my cause of death and questioned him in front of everyone, Mom hesitated and almost immediately collapsed to the ground. Dad rushed over as soon as he received the news. He learned about my death just as he reached the doorway. In that moment, he seemed almost furious, grabbing Mom by the shoulders and shouting at her, "Didn't I tell you not to go? Why didn't you listen? Why did you leave the house and go to the mountains? Don't you know Ava once got lost and has a trauma about the mountain? Couldn't you think about her even once? Maybe it was too much for her?" Under Dad's interrogation, Mom rolled her eyes and fainted. When she regained consciousness, she insisted on going to the police station despite Dad and Nathan's attempts to stop her. She knelt in front of my lifeless body, crying until she almost passed out again. I floated above, watching my body lie in the morgue, seeing her hold my cold hand and cry, "Ava, Mom is sorry. I'm here to take you home." How ironic. The one who abandoned me was now crying and saying she wanted to take me home. But where was my home now? The home she referred to might still exist, but there was no place for me there. "Sorry, you can't take Ava's body just yet." "What do you mean?" Mom, with tears in her eyes, looked at the man in the white coat. "Why can't I take my daughter's body? My daughter died in an accident. If I sign, we should be able to bring her home." Mom frowned and stared at the man, her eyes wide, but the man in the white coat remained unfazed by her questioning. He pushed up his glasses and said coldly, "2 years ago, Miss Ava, as a volunteer, participated in a national secret research project. A few days ago, the project made significant progress. Miss Ava signed a contract with us to be the first participant in this global release. But what does this have to do with us taking Ava's body?" Mom stood up, her voice filled with emotion. "Even if she signed a contract with you during her life, she's dead now. Are you still going to use her body for experiments? This is inhumane. It's deeply disrespectful to the deceased. I won't allow you to treat my child this way." Mom stood firm in front of my body. I floated above, feeling a mix of pity and irony despite being just a soul. This was the first time my mother defended me like this, and it was after my death. "I'm taking my daughter with me. If you stop me, I'll have our company's lawyers sue you immediately." She pulled out her phone, ready to call the funeral home, but before she could dial, a large hand grabbed her phone, halting her. "I agreed to it." "What?" Mom looked at Dad in disbelief. "I said Ava joined the project and donated her body. I agreed to it." Dad's tone was calm, but distant. He looked at Mom as if she were a stranger. Mom's disbelief turned to anger. "Why, Michael, Ava is your daughter. How can you let them use her body for experiments? Even if Ava didn't understand, how could you, her father, allow this?" Mom clenched her fists and pounded on Dad's chest. Watching this scene, my heart ached. I floated down, trying to shield Dad from the blows, but it was futile. I knew it must hurt, but his expression remained unchanged. As her father, I owed her so much, so I tried to fulfill her few requests. His tone was indifferent as he pushed Mom away. "Just this once, can't you understand her?" After that, Dad glanced at me and then left, leaving Mom in tears. I donated my body to become the first subject in memory extraction experiments. A day later, my memories would be broadcast globally as a scientific achievement. I followed my devastated mother back to the hospital, wondering what Nathan and Lily would think when they heard my memories would be released worldwide. As expected, their reactions were priceless. The moment they heard the news from Mom, Ava, as always, never gave people a moment's peace. If she felt unwell, she could have told us. Why did she have to hold on and delay her own demise? Mom sat by the hospital bed, looking exhausted with reddened eyes, but her words were full of blame. Exactly. Even in death, she doesn't let people rest, always doing such terrible things, Nathan murmured, completely unaware of Lily's extremely pale face on the bed. Was that memory extraction experiment really real? I've never heard of anything like that. Why does Dad always indulge Ava in doing such dangerous things? Lily's voice was filled with worry as she finally spoke, but her eyes revealed a hint of anxiety and unease. The hospital room was silent, each person lost in their thoughts like the calm before a storm. Mom seemed to sense the tension in the room, so she moved to the sofa in the waiting area and picked up the remote to watch TV. But as soon as she turned it on, the TV displayed a report about the upcoming memory extraction research conference scheduled for the next day. Not just the TV news, but social media was also flooded with news about this research breakthrough. If memory extraction technology could be perfected and made widespread, it would be a monumental achievement for the entire world and human society. Countless media outlets and streaming services announced that they would cover the entire conference live the next day. Everyone was eager to witness this historic moment. A day passed in the blink of an eye. Inside the VIP hospital room, the atmosphere was icy cold. It was already time for the conference to start, but no one turned on the TV. Mom, Dad, don't you want to see Ava's memories before she passed? Nathan asked cautiously, feeling his anxiety rise. What's there to see? Who would want to know her memories? It's not like her memories will involve others. Lily scoffed but looked uneasy. The three of them exchanged words, but Dad silently held the remote, watching each second tick by. Even after the conference had started, he remained silent. He sat there, his chest heaving as if gathering his resolve. Finally, he lifted his hand and turned on the TV. The room went silent again. No one spoke in the small hospital room. Only the voices from the TV filled the space, explaining the memory extraction machine and its widespread implications. I scanned everyone's faces. They were quite the sight. Lily bit her lip, looking pale. Nathan leaned against the wall, disgusted, with sweat on his forehead. Dad watched the TV intently while Mom's eyes were wide, waiting anxiously. At this moment, people all over the world gathered around TVs, computers, and phones to witness history. Online discussions buzzed as they awaited the success of my memory extraction. The machine was ready to go. Since the research wasn't complete, they could only extract the most profound memories from my brain. To me, as soon as the memory visuals were projected on the big screen, everyone gasped in wonder, and the researchers celebrated their success. People were curious about the deepest memories of the first experimental subject, eager to see their content. The screen then showed a harmonious family scene. This was my first memory, my first gift to Nathan and Lily, presented from my perspective. Our family was setting up a picnic spot. Dad and I were pitching a tent while 9-year-old Lily pestered 13-year-old Nathan to play. Dad let Ava handle it by herself. Take Nathan and me to explore the woods, please. Lily, in her pink princess dress, pouted and pushed all the tent chores onto me. I never understood why, but although I took care of her the most among our siblings, she was the most antagonistic towards me. She always seemed to cry and act up to steal Dad's or Nathan's attention whenever they spent time with me. Whenever they left me to attend to her, she'd look back at me with a smug expression that said, "See, Dad and Nathan care about me the most." Back then, I thought she was just a clueless little sister, so I always gave in to her. No. Facing Lily's whining, Dad refused her request without hesitation. He gently pushed Lily, who was holding onto his arm, with a soft but serious tone. We all divided the work at home before we came. Ava already finished her part, and you promised Dad to help your big brother and me pitch the tent. If you want to play, call Nathan over and clean up things first. Ava is also Mom and Dad's child, not your maid, Dad said as he pulled me aside and called Nathan loudly to come and help clean up. Nathan was reluctant while Lily started throwing a tantrum and suddenly burst into tears. Dad, you're being unfair. You only care about Ava. I don't like you anymore. Lily stomped her foot and ran into the woods, feeling wronged. Seeing Lily run into the woods, Nathan immediately chased after her without another word. I crouched down and smiled at Dad. Dad, you should go too. I can pitch the tent myself. You should hurry after them. The woods are vast, and if they get lost, it won't be good. Let's go together. Mom is busy in the car and might take a while. I don't trust leaving you here alone. Dad sighed helplessly, pulled me up, and didn't allow me to refuse as he led me in the direction Lily ran. The two of us searched for a while but didn't see their shadows. Looking at the endless woods, I suddenly felt a sense of panic. Why haven't we seen them yet? Dad, do you think Lily's in trouble? My heart began to pound wildly for some reason, and the further we went, the stronger the ominous feeling became. No, Lily is just a little kid. She can't run that fast. Dad comforted me softly, but his quicker pace and tightened grip showed his worry. We searched a bit more and saw Nathan sitting under a tree, wiping his tears. When he saw us, Nathan's eyes lit up, and he ran toward us while crying. Dad, why did you take so long? Where's Lily? Seeing no one with him, Dad immediately grabbed Nathan's arm and asked. This made Nathan cry even harder. I lost her. I couldn't find her and was planning to come get you, but I got lost. Dad, should we split up to look for her? I asked anxiously. Dad didn't respond immediately, but I could tell he was more worried than I was. No, the woods are too vast, and we're on a mountain. There might be hidden pits. He gave me a reassuring look. You take Ava back the way we came. I'll keep looking. Maybe Lily's just hiding somewhere angry. Dad continued searching while calling Lily's name loudly to ensure her safety. I had no choice but to take Nathan back. Hopefully Mom was already back at the campsite. This is all your fault. Nathan had wiped his tears and was now blaming me. If you'd helped Lily pitch the tent, maybe she wouldn't have thrown a tantrum and I wouldn't have gotten lost. Nathan, as always, blamed everything on me. In the past, I might have argued with him, but now I didn't have the energy. Maybe because I ignored him, Nathan lost interest and followed me at a distance, occasionally looking around. When we reached a nearly vertical slope, he exclaimed excitedly, Ava, look, there's actually a grave here. Who would bury someone here? Annoyed, I turned back and walked towards him, looking where he pointed and felt a sudden shock. To Nathan, it might have seemed interesting, but to me, I was scared. What if Lily, out of curiosity, accidentally fell from a similar slope? The more I thought about it, the more terrified I became. Finally, I decided to go back into the woods to help look. Nathan, just follow this path straight ahead. Dad and I made markers along the way. Follow them, and you'll definitely reach the campsite. I pointed ahead and told Nathan, Where are you going? He grabbed my arm and panicked as I turned to leave. My sense of direction is better than yours. I want to help Dad. No way. Nathan clung to my arm. You can't go. Take me back first. What if I get lost again? This is all your fault. Nathan started to act unreasonably, but I had no energy to argue. In our struggle, Nathan suddenly let go. I lost my balance and, with the slippery mud, fell backward, tumbling down the almost vertical slope. My ankle hit a tombstone hard. I felt like my entire body had been crushed. I lay on the ground, unable to move. The pain was so intense that I couldn't even scream. It felt like something was covering my eyes, making everything blurry. Through the haze, I caught a glimpse of Nathan standing on the hill. He looked really panicked, but I couldn't see his expression clearly. In the last moment before losing consciousness, I saw him turn and sprint away as fast as a bowstring snapping. The scene turned pitch black. Mom, with red-rimmed eyes, turned and looked at Nathan, whose face was filled with guilt and panic. She was shocked. Didn't you tell me Ava went to find your dad? Do you know how worried I was then? Why did you lie to me? And your dad? You made Ava fall down there. Why didn't you tell us the truth when you came back? Why did you lie to us? Mom's slap landed hard on Nathan's face. I didn't know how long they had searched for me back then, but I understood why Nathan lied, to hide the fact that I had fallen. I guess he was afraid of being scolded by our parents, so he lied. When they couldn't find me, he became even more scared to tell the truth and continued the lie. I didn't mean to. Nathan's voice trembled. I thought she was dead. I wanted to tell, but you guys called the cops without even asking. I was scared. I was scared the police would arrest me for killing someone. Nathan covered his face, looking somewhat aggrieved, but then his tone changed abruptly. It's not entirely my fault. If she had agreed to take me back first, we wouldn't have been arguing there. It's her own fault. Nathan's neck stiffened as he spoke with forced righteousness. I watched as Mom's eyes widened, seemingly surprised that Nathan was still shirking his responsibility. She trembled with anger and raised her hands to slap him again. But just as her hand rose, the dark TV screen flickered back to life. On the screen, I woke up from unconsciousness, slowly moving my body and starting to call for help loudly. When no one responded, the younger me tried to stand up, enduring the pain in my ankle and thinking of ways to save myself. I first found a sturdy stick. Then, gritting my teeth, I used all my strength to grab onto a tree trunk and slowly climb up. Several times, I almost slipped and rolled back down due to exhaustion or a misstep. The scene was nerve-wracking. Finally, when my last bit of strength was spent, I made it up. I walked along the path in my memory to the campsite, only to find it completely deserted. I stood there in a daze for a long time, and the tears I had held back finally fell. But I held on to a sliver of hope, believing that my parents and brother would never leave me behind. I started hobbling down the mountain the way we had come, and sure enough, I saw them about to drive away where they had parked the car. Excitedly, I wanted to rush toward them, but my injured ankle wouldn't let me. The distance between us was too great, so I shouted loudly, hoping they would hear. "Dad! Mom! I'm here! I'm here! You left me behind! Don't leave me!" I walked as fast as I could through the pain and cried out, but it seemed like they didn't hear. The car started, watching it get farther and farther away. I panicked. I was scared they were really going to leave me. I was terrified I'd be abandoned. I didn't want to give up chasing that car, hoping someone would notice me until Lily looked back in my direction. My heart swelled with hope. I raised my hand high and waved it furiously, but as soon as she saw me, she went back inside and closed the window. The car didn't stop. I watched helplessly as it drove farther and farther away, finally disappearing from my sight. This was the first time they left me behind, and they left me for a whole 6 years. The hospital room was deafeningly quiet. Mom stared at the TV, unresponsive, because my memories continued. The TV clearly showed how I was lured into a car after being left behind, how I was tied up and locked in a dark room, eating scraps and drinking dirty water, treated like merchandise, and trafficked to another city hundreds of kilometers away. As a 9-year-old child, at an age of building self-confidence and dignity, I was confined in a cage without respect, waiting to be sold like livestock. I couldn't recall how I survived those darkest days. What kept me going was my imagination, my belief that my parents would come to save me. I believed they would never give up on me. This belief got me through 6 long years. But what caused my suffering? Who was the source of my misery? I never understood why my brother and sister would do this to me. Why? Why, Mom? Lily pressed her lips together, her voice trembling, her face pale. She probably never thought the secret she had hidden for 8 years would be exposed in front of everyone like this. I admit I saw someone waving at me, but I didn't know it was Ava. Lily's eyes turned red as tears fell onto the bedspread. She looked so innocent. Dad, Mom, believe me. If I had known it was Ava, I would have told you to stop the car. She's been so good to me. How could I leave her behind? As Lily spoke, she covertly tugged on Nathan's sleeve. Nathan appeared startled for a moment, but quickly said, "Yeah, Mom, Lily might be a bit willful, but she wouldn't do something like this. Maybe we should just stop watching." As Nathan spoke, he reached for the remote on the table. But before he could grab it, their dad, who had stood up slowly, kicked him to the ground. Ignoring everyone's shocked gasps, Dad sat back down, glanced at the disheveled Nathan with a blank expression, and said coolly, "Keep watching." Dad turned back to the TV, which was already showing the second scene. I groggily opened my eyes and found myself in an abandoned warehouse. I tried to get up, but realized my hands and feet were tied. I heard intermittent sobs nearby. I followed the sound and saw a frightened 16-year-old Lily in a school uniform crying in the corner. At that moment, I didn't know what had happened. I only remembered that after I left school, someone put a bag over my head, and the next thing I remember is waking up here. "Lily! Lily!" I shuffled over to her, wanting to ask what had happened. Lily was crying so hard she couldn't speak. She gestured with her chin, and I looked in that direction, seeing an unconscious Nathan looking beaten up. Judging by his condition, he must have been severely beaten. This memory was probably from the time Nathan and a few others were kidnapped. Dad watched the scene on the TV with a frown, seemingly piecing together the memory. Nathan naturally recalled the kidnapping from a year ago, a cold smile forming on his face. She really has the nerve to use this as her most vivid memory. Finally feeling triumphant, he looked disdainful. I floated in the air, my expression indifferent, a cold smile lingering on my lips. I suddenly felt a wave of anticipation. I was now curious about Nathan's reaction when he learned the truth. After all, this was the second gift I had prepared for them. "Dad, maybe we shouldn't watch this." From her hospital bed, Lily's voice was shaky and worried, something I didn't initially notice. "Dad, I don't want to watch anymore. I don't want to remember the kidnapping. Dad, I'm scared." Seeing the terror on Lily's face, Nathan felt a pang of pity, pulling her into his arms and promptly saying, "Dad, if you have any anger, take it out on me. Can't you see how scared Lily is? What more is there to see? Isn't it just like Lily said?" The selfish jerk ran off to save himself, leaving us behind and ended up getting what he deserved. She even admitted to it herself. It's all Nathan's fault. Nathan's speech was cut off by Lily's voice coming from the TV. This idiot got involved with those guys messing with some woman who had a man. He deserved the beating. But why drag me into this? I didn't make him go and be a backup. I was supposed to go to the karaoke with friends tonight. But thanks to him, Lily snarled with red eyes at the unconscious Nathan. There was no brotherly or sisterly affection on her face, just anger and blame. In the hospital room, Nathan, who had absorbed every word, looked utterly shocked. Instinctively, he pushed Lily away, unable to believe such cruel words had come from his beloved sister. He probably couldn't believe he mattered less to her than a night out with friends. Seeing his expression, Lily panicked, grabbing his sleeve and hurriedly saying, "It's not like that. I was just so scared at the time, so I complained." "Don't be mad at me." Nathan said nothing. Ordinarily, he would have forgiven Lily instantly, but his current expression showed he was now distancing himself from her. Floating above, watching the two of them, I suddenly laughed. Seeing the once close siblings, now strangers, gave me a surge of satisfaction. Nathan's eyes returned to the TV. "All right, there's no point in talking about it now." I interrupted his complaints, frowning at the thugs in the distance, drinking and gambling. Their rough appearance was intimidating. I slowly inched towards Nathan, checking out his current state. As I got closer, I finally saw the guy who was usually so arrogant. Now his face was covered in blood. Someone must have hit him on the head with a stick. The bleeding wound had already scabbed over. His face was bruised and swollen, and there were many footprints on his body. I still didn't know what exactly Nathan did, or why these people tied us up, but I couldn't help but assume the worst. We needed to find a way to escape. I moved my wrists, frowning from the pain caused by the rope's friction. Under Lily's shocked gaze, I skillfully slipped my hands out of the loosely tied rope. The rough rope had cut several bloody marks into my hands, but I didn't make a sound. I silently untied the rope around my feet and looked around carefully. Eventually, I spotted a narrow dog hole near some clutter in the corner. "I'll crawl through that dog hole and find someone to call the cops. You stay here and keep quiet," I whispered to Lily as I glanced at the group of thugs. Lily suddenly panicked when she saw I was about to leave. "No way! You can't go alone! Take me with you! Don't leave me here alone!" She got so worked up that I quickly covered her mouth, scared she would draw attention from the thugs with her loud voice. "What about Nathan? Leave him here alone!" I frowned, bringing up Nathan on purpose. I thought Lily would at least reconsider because Nathan cared for her, but she didn't. "Who cares about him?" Lily shoved my hand away, glaring at Nathan with disgust. "If it weren't for him, would I be caught here? This place is filthy. My hands got cut by the ropes. Who knows if they'll get infected? He messed with the wrong people and got beaten up. He dragged me into this. Why should I suffer for him?" I wasn't really shocked she said this, though. Deep down, I knew Lily was the kind of person who'd sacrifice others to save herself. "Well then, you can untie me and you stay here. I'll go find someone to call the cops." No way. I almost instantly rejected that idea. I had a gut feeling that if I let her go, she'd leave without looking back. She wouldn't care about Nathan's or my life. "Stay put. I'll be back soon." I didn't waste any more words with her. I seized the moment while the thugs weren't looking and crawled out through the dog hole. Once outside, I looked around to get my bearings, but I hadn't made it far before I heard Lily's voice shouting from the warehouse. "Someone's escaping! Quick, go catch them!" At that moment, it was like I was frozen in place, feeling cold all over. My mind went blank. I didn't understand why Lily did that, but one word echoed in my mind: run. All the thugs quickly came after me. I ran aimlessly through the woods, tripping countless times, running until I was exhausted, but too scared to stop. They soon caught up and surrounded me, hitting and kicking me. That moment brought me back to 6 years ago, to the countless dark times I'd been beaten. At some point, someone tore my school uniform, and as my skin was exposed to the air, I felt like my heart was being crushed. "Don't let her looks fool you. This girl's got some fight in her." Someone's hands touched me and my brain went blank. I tried to get up and run, but was dragged back by my hair. "Want to help avenge the boss?" They grinned wickedly at me. Their leering looks made me sick, and I trembled. Nathan messed with the boss's girl, so let's mess with his sister. I don't know who started it, but they tore off my uniform while dragging me by my hair to a patch of grass. I was terrified, screaming, pleading, but those animals didn't see me as human. They covered my mouth, grabbed my throat, and tore at me roughly. By the time the sun set and the moon rose, my tears had dried, my voice gone, and they left me in the dirt like discarded trash. I don't know how long I lay there. When I woke up, I had a high fever and was in the hospital. Some villagers saw me and called the cops. In the hospital room, Nathan, who had seen everything, sat with red eyes, turned away from Lily, head down, motionless. The lies had been fully exposed, and Lily's face was pale, but she still clung to a shred of hope, tugging at Nathan's sleeve. Her voice was trembling. "No, listen to me. What more is there to explain?" Nathan shook off her hand, grabbed her shoulders, and screamed, "Didn't you say Ava escaped on her own? Why didn't you tell the truth? Do you think our lives are worthless? Only Lily's life is precious? What did I ever do to wrong you? I treated you so well. Ava treated you so well. How could you do that? Why would you push her into the fire pit?" Lily laughed. "Push her into the pit? Nathan, I'm just a bit selfish, but who's the real culprit behind Ava's current state?" The truth hit hard. Lily unveiled her true self. "Did I tell you to push Ava down? Did I tell them to catch her? The person responsible for her condition is you. She's dead now. What's the use in pretending? Can she hear you?" Lily's mocking words stabbed at Nathan's heart. "You're calling her Ava now, but how did you describe her to me behind her back?" "You called her filthy, said the scars on her body made you sick, said she should have died back then. How dare you blame me for hurting her?" Nathan's eyes widened as if struck by a thought or utterly hurt by Lily's words. He stood there trembling. He suddenly dropped to his knees, completely breaking down, holding his head. There was deep regret in his eyes. "For the first time, I was wrong. I've wronged Ava. I shouldn't have been so harsh. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have abandoned her. But I was so scared. I feared she'd come back and expose me. I'm her brother, but never acted like one. I brought her to this state and still said she deserved it. Wished she'd died outside. I deserve to die. I deserve it." He collapsed to the ground, crying his heart out. Watching his self-repentant breakdown, I felt no sympathy. All the memories played out. They didn't know it yet, but they were being cursed online by netizens' worldwide network. Mom seemed unable to accept my suffering, covering her mouth and almost fainting. "How did this happen? Why didn't she tell us? I'm her mom. Why did she keep it all to herself? Because you never believed her." My usually silent dad finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "Your heart was always biased. Out of the 3, Nathan and Lily were always your favorites, but there wasn't a single time you chose Ava." Without hesitation, Dad nearly crushed the remote in his hand, veins bulging in his neck, shaking with a stoic face. "Even now, knowing her suffering, you still blame her. You don't deserve to be Ava's mom, and neither do I deserve to be her dad." Dad got up shakily from the sofa, almost falling several times. Watching him, I felt a painful squeeze on my heart, making it hard to breathe. "No, no. You're the best father, the one who loves me the most." I reached out to embrace him, but my arms fell short. His tears, though untouchable, felt as if they burned into my heart. He's undeniably my father, the one who has always been my rock. During those 6 lost years when everyone else had given up, he stayed strong. His hair turned gray almost overnight, weighed down by guilt from losing me. despite his demanding work. Once he found me, he never missed a single day without calling. He was my constant, the one who always believed in me. When I was struggling emotionally from the trauma I faced, he stayed by my side for 24 hours straight, setting everything aside. When my mother hesitated about pursuing justice, he stood firm, even considering extreme measures to ensure those responsible would be held accountable. "Let's get a divorce," I declared. "What?" Mom looked stunned, unable to believe her ears. "I said, let's get a divorce." My father took a deep breath and pulled out divorce papers from his briefcase. "I don't want any assets." "We'll divorce. I'll take Lily's ashes and leave. I'm not a competent father. I'll spend the rest of my days praying for Lily, wishing she has a happy, healthy next life free from parents like us," he declared resolutely and walked away. Mom stood there in shock until she saw him leave the ward without a backward glance, then collapsed. How did it come to this? Ethan, never anticipating this outcome, clenched his teeth in anger. "It's that horse's fault. Why didn't she die when they violated her? Why did she survive? Why do people still despise her even in death?" Ethan's tirade ended abruptly when a bottle struck his head, causing him to fall off the bed. His recently healed leg hit the floor hard, making him scream again. "Mom." He stared wide-eyed at the mother who had thrown the bottle, terrified. Not only him, but even I had never seen Mom look like that. "Why wasn't it you who died? Why, Lily, why are you so selfish, never allowing Lily a moment of peace? Why did I even have you? Without you, just Lily. Wouldn't our family be whole? Would your father have even considered divorce if it weren't for you?" Mom transformed into a frenzied person at that moment. She stood up and began hitting and kicking Ethan. Grabbing Ethan's neck tightly, she viciously exclaimed, "Your father was right. I'm not fit to be Lily's mother, and you don't deserve to have a sister like Lily. You ruined her. You ruined me. You destroyed our family. Since I brought you into this world, let me send you to apologize to Lily now." "No!" Ethan desperately kicked his legs, but he had just undergone surgery and hadn't fully recovered. Where could he find the strength? His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and tears streamed down his face. Shortly after, his eyes widened, and he stopped moving. Ethan was dead, killed by his mother, who had once adored him. Mom lost her sanity. She couldn't accept that her favoritism had led to my death. She couldn't accept our father leaving her. She couldn't accept that she had just killed her own daughter with her own hands. She was admitted to a mental hospital where she rambled day and night. "Lily, has anyone seen my daughter? I need to find my Lily. Mom was wrong. Will you forgive Mom? Don't leave Mom all alone." Daisy was sometimes clear-headed and sometimes confused. He couldn't come to terms with reality. He couldn't accept that his family had fallen apart overnight. He drank all day and lived in a daze. In the end, he was found naked and bruised, frozen to death under a bridge. I thought I would feel avenged, thought I would disappear from this world after achieving my goal, or maybe be reincarnated. But I didn't. My soul floated beside Dad, watching him shave his head, carrying my ashes. He bowed with every step as he climbed to the mountain temple. The abbot asked him what he sought. He replied, "I just want to light a lamp for my daughter and spend the rest of my life praying for her happiness and peace in her next life." It felt like something was calling me. My consciousness began to blur. The moment I lost awareness, I seemed to see Dad smiling at me. "Daddy's Lily. May your next life be peaceful, joyful, with a happy family, an always supportive mother, and a father who loves you forever and ever."